Welcome to Off-Skripted. I'm B-Rad, joined with Iron Mike McGuire, a podcast for call center peeps, by call center peeps, powered by Noble Biz, where we talk news, experiences, trending information, data, everything call center related. Glad you guys could join us today. Mike, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Brad?
Pretty good.
Awesome. You excited? What?
It's freezing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, I would tell you it was 70 yesterday, so I'm not in Florida, but North Carolina's close.
Yeah. It's too cold. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Well, last time we talked, you said, it seems like every time we go to a warm weather event, you're like, this place looks really nice.
I know. Well, we were in Scottsdale last time we got together. And
Yeah, Super Bowl week.
And it was beautiful. I mean, it was like what? Probably in the 50s, first thing in the morning, right?
Yep, a little chilly at night.
Warmed up to the mid 70s.
Yeah, so here's the problem though with Scottsdale, right? I've been there in July. So I used to have a call center that I traveled to about every couple months in Glendale.
Yeah.
July, 110, 115. Fry an egg on the sidewalk.
You could literally fry an egg on the sidewalk.
Literally. They say dry heat. No, put your head in the oven. Right? That's Scottsdale in July.
So it's not really Four Seasons golf down there. It's actually 3 because unless you're
tank top, mesh shorts, and yeah. I mean, technically you could, right? Like you could play, but you're going to be well hydrated.
Yeah. It was nice when we went down there. I mean, I guess January. When were we down there? February. Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I know you're kind of slow rolling into the Super Bowl. I know your feelings are probably still a little hurt, right?
We didn't really talk about that all that much. It was a great game.
When we were down there, I think we were both a little nervous. Nobody wanted to talk smack, right? Because you're a Philly fan, I'm a Chiefs fan, and we were just like, we didn't want it to come back and bite us, right? So we were kind of like even keeled.
Yeah.
And then
I get you. Well, I was definitely rocking my gear through the airport, though.
Yep, me too. And even on the golf course, you heard those people saying, "Go Chiefs!"
Yeah. Buddy of mine flew out the day. So we didn't stay for the Super Bowl, right? We both had to get back to our offices and get to work.
Unfortunately,
we were out there for a show. ICMG, which we can chat about as well. So it was strange because the days that I was leaving was the influx of Philly fans coming into Scottsdale. And so I had all my Eagles gear on the way out. Yeah. And I had everybody walking in on their way in, and literally guys yelling, "You're going the wrong way. Where you go?" I was like, "I got to go home, guys." Like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, we're just call center guys. We didn't throw out the $5-10 grand to go to the Super Bowl. So maybe one time. I'm hoping the Chiefs are back quite a few more times.
Yeah.
They keep throwing around that dynasty word, but I'm not there yet. I've been a Chiefs fan my whole life. So I remember the first playoff game kick out every year.
Yeah.
Or the 2
Well, I mean, you have a shot at a dynasty. What is it, 3?
Everybody's rules change, right? So they'll say, "Oh, well, you've gone to the AFC Championship 6 times in a row.
Yeah.
You got 2 out of 3 Super Bowls." So I'm not worried about that. I just, everybody's going to come poach our players. It's rebuilding every year. It's just like, when we're running call centers, it's what have you done for me lately, right? Yeah. It's not what you did last year. Super Bowl's over, and you as a Philly fan, I mean, you already lost both your coaches.
Yeah. Both coordinators are gone, and we have some assistants that were gone that were taken as well. Well, one that we let go.
Yeah. So it's like a rebuild, right? So on the coaching front, at least, I mean, you still got a lot of your core players, but
I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be competitive. I really do. Yeah, I think the Giants are going to surprise some people in the East. I think the dumpster fire down in Washington is not going to be a big deal for anybody. And, the Cowboys are going to be smelling themselves like they usually do, but they can't win a playoff game.
Yeah.
So I think that's the NFC East in a nutshell. So I think we'll
You
be
definitely have an
competitive.
easier road than the AFC. I'll tell you that right now, right? So the AFC, you have all those young gun quarterbacks that are up and coming. Your Herberts, your, Allens, your Burrows. I mean, the Chiefs have to run that gauntlet every year now for what, the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not trashing the NFC, but if you look at all the young quarterbacks, the AFC's loaded. And so if I was Philly, I would take advantage, as as the iron's hot per se.
Yeah. So yeah, we were in Scottsdale. We had the Super Bowl. The Phoenix Open was there at the same time. We were there for ICMG. Pretty good show. ICMG. I mean, we're still
It was.
working
Yeah, it was the first time I've been.
relationships.
Yeah, first time I've been. I knew you kind of come from the healthcare call center side. So for kind of the first time since we've been going, I was your Robin and you were the Batman, right? So you had all the knowledge in that space, which was awesome. It was good to see you interact with people, that type of stuff. So I think the healthcare space and call center in general is vast and deep, right?
Yeah.
So it goes from, maybe lead gen, little niches, Medicare, supplement, that type of stuff to, full on call centers that are doing insurance and, that healthcare. So,
right.
And we got to meet a lot of great people at that show. I mean, just network value alone was amazing. Not to mention that it was at a really nice resort and it had really amazing food, right?
Right.
So what were your thoughts? So ICMG, we going to be going
back?
You think we go back next year?
Yeah, I think we go back. We're still fostering and we're still building on some partnership and relationships from this year. And I think if that continues, 100%. Yeah. Did you, when you flew out, did you red eye it? I red eyed it.
Yeah, no, and we kind of both talked about it. I didn't red eye, but I went the next day because remember we were hanging out. We went to the range.
Yeah, that's right.
You didn't fly out till like 11.
So on my red eye, so I was kind of complaining just in my head, like, oh, I got a red eye. Nobody likes it. You can't sleep on a plane. So I'm walking onto the plane, and it's one of those new 787-8 Dreamliners.
Wow.
Have you been on one of those planes?
I've taken one to Vegas, but that was it.
Dude.
I'm flying out of Greensboro, so normally I get the one seat on one side, two seats on the other side, and you feel every bump in the air.
I wasn't quite in all the way back economy. I was in like the one little section above economy, right?
Yeah.
And there's no slides for the windows. There are buttons. There's like these LED buttons that you press and the windows just darken. The tech on this plane was insane. Absolutely insane. My seat had like a footrest. I was in a recliner and I wasn't even in first class.
Nice.
So,
well, it makes a red eye not suck as much, I guess, right?
It does. So, Tony, if you're watching and you make me fly a red eye, I wouldn't be opposed to jumping on a 787-8 Dreamliner.
So, Tony, good segment is with Noble Biz, and Noble Biz is our main sponsor of Off-Skripted. And Noble Biz is a contact center platform company with carrier services, omni-channel. So if you are interested in one of the top of the line solutions, give Noble Biz a ring. And we appreciate you, Noble Biz, for everything you do for us.
Thank you, Noble Biz. We really do appreciate it. So what else? Any other news that we've had here in the last couple days or last week that's been
we're about to head somewhere. We're about to head to Sin City. We're about to go to Vegas.
Well, we'll talk. Yep, we've got that queued up. We'll talk about, what we want to get out of that as well.
I would say go ahead.
We had the roundtable discussion with the Troutman firm.
With the Troutman firm. Sometimes when I do those discussions with attorneys, right? So you probably don't know it, but I used to sell. I ran a call center for online legal research company. And so literally called into attorney firms and sold them B2B software. If you've never sold an attorney, It is the art of all arts of sales, right? It's not an easy road. So if I can sell an attorney, I figured I can sell anybody. But every time I talk to an attorney, they scare me to death, right?
Mm,
Like everything is, doom and gloom and so on and so forth. So I got after that show that we had, about all the upcoming legislations and
yeah.
in the call center space, I was like, wow, I'm kind of glad I'm on the tech side right now and I'm not living and running call centers for a living because
Yeah.
the hurdles that they have to challenge, back when I ran call centers, compliance was something, but it was not as sticky as it is now to where state
Right.
regulation, federal regulation, you can't call this person unless you have this consent, so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
great round table and anybody that is in the call center space, definitely listen to it. There's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe.
Yeah, kudos to Eric and Pooja for joining us. And I moderated that thing, and I mean, I'd like to think I had some pretty intelligent questions and directions, but I got to tell you, those two brains over there,
Yeah.
at Trap, it's just unbelievable how much they're dedicated to their work, to their pat. It's and to hear them talk so passionately and ease effortlessly, about that is really awesome. So
Well,
yeah,
they're
like
also doing a lot of stuff to try to save the Legion space. And when you look at that, they're not only they're not just attorneys that are in the Legion space. They are in the Legion space.
yeah,
When you're talking about being able to talk to somebody, being able to call somebody and get ideas or run things by them. I've been in a lot of different verticals. I've never seen really a firm as deeply entrenched to a vertical as those guys are. And they just put together this reach board and we're a part of that. And really the whole idea is how do we foster the ability to be able to do lead generation correctly, right? Get the bad
right.
actors out of the space to where, they're not going to get the whole show shut down because of a few bad people. So I'm excited about that. It's a brand new, thing that's coming out. So I think anytime that we can be mouthpieces of the industry and say, hey, we want to do it right. We want to help people achieve, success in the lead gen space. Then I think that's always a good lane to be in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we had the roundtable. We'll talk about LeadsCon coming up here in a bit as well.
Yeah.
Completely not related to anything call center. We've had the first full week of baseball in the books as far as spring training and cactus leagues go. I don't know if you're a big baseball fan,
No,
but
that's you, buddy. Yeah.
so they did some rules. They actually introduced the the pitch clock. They
Oh,
put
I heard that
time
was
into
coming like a
baseball
time.
now. The
Wow.
second day of games. The second day of games, there was a game where there was bases loaded, 2 outs, like full count,
Yeah.
and the game ended. The game ended on a pitch count violation, and it was on I think it was on the batter, wasn't in the box soon enough, and the entire game was called off. It was done. Like, they ended in a tie or something like that because it was it's
And
gonna
that's
be
going to be
interesting this year to
frustrating,
see.
but as somebody that's not a baseball, you're a purist, right? So
Yeah.
it's going to be a different way to look at it. Now, me coming from, just a casual, right? Casual fan, very casual at watching baseball. It's got to go faster, Brad. The
Well, it
game
will.
has got to be sped up.
They've shaved off an average of 20 minutes per game. That's what it's been
So
so far. So I
is that
think
like
it's
an
gonna
inning? What is that? Is that like
a
an
whole game.
inning? Okay. No, no, no. I'm
A
not
whole
saying
game.
20 minutes an inning, but how long's a normal baseball game?
Well, I mean, you could so a 7:05 start, if it goes
Yeah.
9 and it's super long, it might end around 10:30. That's a long game. A
So like
9:30,
3, 4 hours.
yeah, last year and years prior, a 2-hour baseball game was moving along. It sounded like a pitcher's duel, 1
Okay.
nothing, not a lot of, balls and pitches thrown, and it was quick. But, so I think we're gonna see it come back down, and we'll see, that in conjunction with earlier start times as well. Like,
Right.
My poor boy, we put on the Phillies at 7:05. Very rarely did he stay up to watch the end of it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll
Well,
see.
with we both are fathers, and with children nowadays, it's a challenge to keep their attention, right? They
Yeah.
have instant iPads, instant, everything, right? And so
Yeah.
to keep their attention to watch a full baseball game, I give you props, Dad, because that's definitely a challenging thing. At least, I have a 10-year-old myself, and he's on an iPad doing homework, watching something on TV, and I'm like, wow. I
Yeah.
can't imagine where he's going to be at our age. On the multitasking environment because he's ahead of me now. Like good, bad, or indifferent, still gets
Yeah.
straight A's, but he can he does multiple things. So I don't know if your
Yeah.
kids do that, but mine absolutely
No, they
do.
do. I mean, we control a lot. There's, we we've got these apps on our phones where we can control screen time, PlayStation time, stuff like that. So we let we let the AI parent for us in that regard.
Good segment because
It's
AI obviously
Uncle
is
Uncle AI.
I mean everywhere you turn, right? So everywhere you
Right.
turn it's AI.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned it, with the kids. It's obviously heavy in the call center space.
Yeah.
We everywhere we turn, we see comments of is AI going to replace agents? Is AI going to be the end of contact centers? Where do you
Yeah.
lean on that, Brad?
Well, I feel like I feel like it's gonna ebb and flow. So we're gonna get excited about our achievements in creating something that is smart enough to add content to a conversation based on previous data to deliver an outcome. And we're gonna say, look how awesome this is. And then at some point, um, there's gonna be a loss of nuance. And so because of that, I feel like the outcome on that is going to be that the people that are still on the phones
Yeah,
will be greatly appreciated, more so than they ever have been, you know. Um and here's another thing. Like there's a lot of, obviously you have the masters of the universe out there, building these AI bots and these programs and stuff like that, but then everybody else, there's so much of it being thrown around right now. There's a million and one definitions of what it is.
right.
You know what I mean? Because like not even technically, loosely, I could build this huge, grandiose IVR on an inbound campaign somewhere. That if I
Right.
just spend enough time and I put enough logic into it, now it's not going to bring. It's like, oh well, I can here's artificial intelligence on an inbound call for a camp. I mean, you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
I still feel like there is immeasurable value to nuance that you
Yeah.
hear in somebody's tone, or you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
Well,
It's
I and you kind of know my background. I come back from, and I kind of look at everything at almost like the common man experience. And when I
yeah.
deal with AI, and I love it to the fact that I can find information quickly.
Mhm.
But if I have a real problem or I'm calling and I need to get a hold of somebody, I can't be the only one that's pushing one or saying customer
Yeah.
service on the
Yeah.
IVR because I don't want AI because AI puts me in a loop. It takes time and time is money. So that part's frustrating. Now, let's look at it as an agent standpoint. When I
Mhm.
was an agent and I was training agents and I was managing agents, last thing I wanted to do is do the busybody work, right? You call in,
Yeah.
what's my balance? You call
Right.
in, I need to make a payment. Where there's some job security there, I think most agents nowadays, especially, they want to feel like what they're doing is helpful. They
Right.
want the challenging things to be able to troubleshoot or, help somebody or sell somebody something. So I look at AI as a way to assist maybe an agent and make their job um, much easier or make their job much more fulfilling, that they get to focus on the real customer service, like you said, the nuances of making somebody happy, selling somebody something. So that part of AI, I think, will continue to grow, and it could eliminate some of the jobs that, quite honestly, we're probably either offshoring or people really, they don't feel challenged in their job. That's kind of my take.
Gotcha. Cool. Well,
Yep.
if you're new to Off-Scripted, Mike and I just like to catch up, and we like to talk about, what we've experienced in the last week or so, some news coming down that would affect the call center vertical amongst all verticals. Talk a little bit about also where we come from.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm going to take the opportunity right now. If we are also have segments where we bring on guests. So if you're watching this and you want to be a guest on the podcast and join Mike and I in studio to discuss whatever, contact us. You can reach us both on LinkedIn, and we'll make it happen. So about halfway done with my coffee, which means that we're probably about halfway done with this episode. But I found this for us to use also.
Coffee's for closers only.
Yeah, I told you about that. I love it.
So Mike, let me ask you this. Let me share a little bit. Give me your first day experience walking into a call center. So
yeah.
I want to
love to. I've told this story a few times, but so I'm sitting in my house in Kansas, Parsons, Kansas, a town of about 8,000 people. And my dad says, "Hey, this company just came in and they have this operator job." Right. And I'm like, "Operator, what are you talking about?" He's like, "You sit in this call, this place with people, and somebody calls in, they need to be transferred, they need help, so on and so forth." And I'm like, "Well, okay, why do you think I'm a good fit?" He goes, "It pays $7 an hour." And I'm going to date myself, but that was a good job, especially in Southeast Kansas, in the 90s. Right. So I show up. Now, here's the funny thing. I actually came in the wrong entrance and came through the back door of this call center place.
Yeah.
When I did, I'm 16, by the way. When I did, I walk in and it's loud. I see all these people standing up. They have their hands waving around. They're talking. Very intimidating for a 16-year-old, Kansas guy. And so, if you think Boiler Room in your mind right now, the movie or the show, that's what it was. And so I'm looking around and I'm like, I just made a terrible mistake, right? I just walked into the lion's den. This guy, he had a New Jersey accent, yells across the room, "Hey, you." And I'm like, "Me?" He's like, "Yeah, you, come here." I thought I'm in trouble, right? I don't know what's happening. He's like, "You looking for a job?"
And I'm like, it was Tony from the docks.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. My dad told me to come get a job here. And he goes, "Oh, okay. Well, can you read?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can read." And I gave him a little sarcasm back, and he perked up and he was like, "Okay." Put his feet up on the desk. He has like a Raider tattoo on his neck, and he's like, here's a script. Read this. Right. And so I read the script. The first word in it was benevolent. So that was the trick, right? Can you get through benevolent? And so I read the script. He's like, no. Read it loudly. And I'm like, all right. So I read it loud. "Hey, John, Mike McGuire, blah, 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 blah." Right. And so he's like, "You got the job, man. You can work till 9:00, right?" And this is like 3. And I'm like, "Yeah, I can work till 9." He's like, Good. Go over there. This guy, Glenn, he's doing a training class right now. Go jump in that class. I'm like, all right. I walk up. I'm like, "Hey, Glenn." And, I'm kind of feeling myself now. I just got a job. I'm going to make $7 an hour. Let's go. Little confidence is coming back to Mike. Glenn's like, "Hey, sit down right here, son." I sit down. He's New Jersey too. He's like, "Hey, they say this, you read this." And he's pointing to the wall. And we had these at the time, which now they're called rebuttals, were hanging up on the wall, left side, right side, so on and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, "You just read the script. They say that, you're just going to read this. You got it, kid?" And I'm like, I got it. And he's like, okay, go over there. You're going to work till 9 o'clock. That was my training class. That literally 5 minute, maybe add another 5 minutes of me sitting there going, is this really my training class? Right. So I go over there, and this guy that's a section coach is 6'5", 280-pound linebacker for Maryland named Carl Edwards. And Carl's got this deep voice. He's got this Hulk Hogan blonde, long hair. I'm already intimidated. Now I'm just crushed. And he's like, yeah, hey, come here, come sit down. He's like, I started pitching. I was so scared. My voice, I'm like, hello? And then the name was Jesus, right? I was like, Jesus? And just getting hung up on, right? Break time. I mean, I'm going through the motions, just getting destroyed. It's break time.
Yeah.
I'm leaving, bro. I'm out. I'm done. This is not for me. So I go out that back door and I push that bar, and they go beep, 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 beep. They have an alarm on the bar.
Right.
And so Carl comes out, 6'5", and he's like, what are you doing? And I see people standing around. You know what they're doing? They're smoking cigarettes. And I'm like, I'm going to grab a smoke. He goes, you're 16, kid. You're not going to smoke. He goes, you're trying to leave, aren't you? And I was like, yes, sir. I was like, I don't think this is for me. He's like, what? Come on, man. Let me help you. And so Carl, which now I know is a really good friend of mine, long story short, but he made my career. He threw that lifeline and said, hey, let me help you. What he did is he brought me in. Break time was over. He set me next to this guy, and anybody in the call center space, they know this technique. And he said, Mike, just listen to how this guy sounds and just copy what he's saying and how he sounds. Because a lot of this job, it was a fundraising job, was all about volume, tone, being confident. You're raising funds. You're painting the picture. And so I did, right? I just listened, and I said, oh, I can do that. I can deepen my voice. I can talk this way. And he's like, just do that. Listen to him for like an hour. And the guy kind of interacted back and forth and was kind of, I think people call him nesting and stuff like that. Now that's really what happened. It was like a buddy situation.
Right.
So I sat next to him and I called for that night, started getting a couple pledges or sales. Addicted since 26 years ago. I ended up being the top caller in that in that office, ended up being the top caller in the company, right? They shipped me out to go open 8 call centers after that. As a young kid, I opened my first center when I was 19. This company went from 6 call centers to 70, and I was a big part of that growth, all because of that first day experience and that guy, Carl, that took me by the hand and brought me back in. But anyways, that's my call center. That's my first day experience. And it almost stopped before it started. No telling where I would be at today, which I'm so thankful. It taught me a lot of skills, and it really created the person I am today. But you asked for it, so that's it. Hopefully I did it justice.
No, yeah. I mean, I've heard that story 3 or 4 times, and it doesn't get old. And I just wanted to make sure that anybody that's tuned into Off-Scripted for the first time, make sure they get that story right off the rip. I mean, it
resonates because everybody had that first day, and everybody, even if it wasn't as dramatic as mine, right? But you still felt those butterflies. You still thought, can I do this job? Is this something that I can actually achieve? Usually most people get a little bit more than a 20-minute training class. Mm-hmm. But even after that, everybody that's listening, they remember the first phone call they made.
Yeah.
Right? When training was over and you had to go get on the live floor, the big open bay, and you had to make those first calls for the first time. Right? And that was so intimidating. And if you got through that and you're still in the space today, you made it, right? You had to overcome something right then, which was telling you, run. You can't do this. Get out of here. So anyways, that was amazing. And I think, everybody has that first time experience, at least the nervousness, stuff like that.
Yeah, mine was a little different. I had actually, it wasn't a full blown, full operational call center. It was actually just recently started and it was building, right? I think there was maybe a total of 6 people, including the owner, that was in the building at the time, and it was exciting because it was so early. And I'm talking like, and I say this like with an appreciation, like folding tables, right?
Yeah.
Uh, very inexpensive computers, Cat 5 running along the floor. You know what I mean? And we would go out and have a drink if we got six deals in a day.
Nice.
6. And it's just like what it was. I walked in, I really didn't know what to expect because I didn't know call centers. I was coming off of probably about a 4 or 5 month run where I was staying home with the kids like off for the summer, and it was like, oh, got to get back to work. And
Yeah.
so like I really didn't know what to expect. And so yeah, same thing where I jumped on and the dialer at that time, if I recall, a it was not an auto dialer. It was more of like a manual click next, click next, click next, right? And you had to hear the ring.
Yeah.
So it wasn't quite picking up the phone and bunching a number, right? It was virtual, but it was still the same experience. And so yeah, getting through that of like getting on the phone and then like it was exhausting.
Yeah.
Hearing like having so many like calls that went to voicemail one after another, and you couldn't cut through could not cut through it. When you finally got somebody to say hello, you had to be on your P's and Q's because it was like you had to be ready. Because if you weren't and you got shocked by it, they're gonna bang on you. You're absolutely gonna
Yeah.
hang up, you know?
Yeah.
So I mean, I did that for several months, showed an aptitude more toward processes to the owner. And so I kind of migrate. But I will say this, there was a story where I was I was still relatively new and I was fronting, right? I wasn't closing. I was just like taking the call, saying hello, transferring it over, right? And he just comes up, he's like, "Hey, follow me. Sit down." And this lady's already on the phone. Sell this deal. Just say exactly what I
Yeah.
say. You know what I mean? And I did, and it was awesome. And it was like, oh, it's really awesome. Like it was just like I didn't even know it was coming. It was no training. There wasn't any of that. It was just like, here you go, because I think that you can do it and you can do it. But
Yeah.
then, like
What
I
was the
say,
rush like? Would you just jonesed up all day?
dude, it was like it was more adrenaline in that moment than and I mean, I've played in some man, I'm an athlete, but it was more adrenaline than some of the biggest games I've played in for baseball and
Yeah.
basketball, for sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was quite the rush, and then afterward, just like, man,
Then
that
you
was
wanted it
awesome.
again. That's
Yeah.
that's the hook, right? So that's the hook,
Yeah.
right? And I went through the same thing to where all of a sudden I got, pledge here, I got a sale here. And
Yeah.
then you're a lot like me where you're competitive and you're like, I can do this. And then you're like, I can be better than everybody. And so that's when the competitive side kicks in. Mine just kicked in really early. So I was like
Yeah.
16 trying to be the boss. I'm like, hey guys, I'm better than everybody in this room. I need to run this call center. And they're like, you're 16, bro.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, what's that matter? That grown man is not going to listen to you. And you're not going to fire that person. I said, okay. I said, so what do I got to do? And they're like,
Yeah.
well, you got to prove yourself. You got to. And I'm like, so basically, you tell me I'm just too young. Got all the skills. So that's when the struggle came in for me because I had to stay engaged in this job, this position.
Yeah.
But I also knew I was biding time. And I had a big head now because I was really good. So what did I start doing? I started making my own schedule. I started coming and going when I wanted to
Yeah.
go. And as somebody that's had to manage people like I was, that's a challenge in this space is you have these A reps.
Yeah.
You have these superstars that you want to give a lot of freedom to because they carry a big percent. That 80-20 rule is not a lie when it comes to a lot of call centers that are in performance-based type positions.
Right.
So I started it again. It almost stopped before it started because I started missing work. I started, thinking I'm above the law. You can't do nothing. You're not going to lose me. I carry all this weight. And I got humbled. So a manager came in and all the other managers let me do whatever I wanted to. Right? Mike, come and go. We don't care. Do what you want. So I had a manager come in. He's like, you're fired. And he's like, as long as I'm here, you will never be rehired if you don't come to work today. That's what he told me on the phone.
Yeah.
I said, okay, we'll see, buddy. Right? Okay. And so I went back in the next day and I went to log in, and you knew you were fired when you logged in and your password was scrambled. Right?
Yeah.
They're like, see the admin. And I'm walking up and I'm like, oh, here we go. Little dog and pony show. They're going to fire me.
Right.
And so he stands up there and he's like, you're done. He's like, I told you on the phone, And I'm like, okay, whatever. See ya. Your loss. So the next day I show back up and I'm like, I'm ready to go to work. And they're like, you don't work here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so I called the guy that ran it, the director. I said, Joe, listen, you know me, I know you, we're good, And he's like, Mike, if I bring you back, it's going to undermine all my managers. Right. You don't know we had a big meeting. We want to try to get everybody on the same page. We want to try to create an environment where people can move up. I said, well, let me do this. Let me prove it to you. Right. I won't miss a day for 6 months. And he's like, okay, all right, cool. So he sells it to this guy and he's like, okay, Mike, And so I did. I had to buckle down. I came to work sick. I came but I put my word out there and I had to do it. So, anyways, a little bit more of my second story, I guess, of my career, but
well, we'll have more. We'll definitely have more. We have to save some in the bucket, and now we have guests, and like
26 years. Here we go. We got a lot of these. So,
all right. So, couple minutes left of this, this episode, and I want to get into a little bit about what we're getting into in the next week or so. With what's up and coming, So I know we've got LeadsCon next week, Las Vegas. We have. I guess my question is, like, what are the top 3 things that you're looking forward to for LeadsCon?
Yeah, no, great question. I've been to LeadsCon many a times, and I've been there at different capacities. So I've been there as a president of a BPO looking for business. And I've been there as a salesperson, and I've been there as, a sales consultant. So a couple things that I look forward to. Number one, all these shows are about networking, right? They're all about getting to know people in the space, getting a networking, how can I help you? How can you help me type environment? And just, the old term, shaking hands and kissing babies, right? Like the networking is very important at these shows because as a couple guys that's been in the space a long time, even though somebody might not be able to utilize our solution or our service, I might be able to send them some work. I might be able to, affect them and their livelihood by somebody saying, Mike, I really need an offshore BPO, or I need somebody onshore, so on and so forth. So networking, I would say, would be, number one. Number two is, I would say, what's new, right? These events, everybody rolls out the newest, either compliance, what's going on in the compliance side of the contact center space, in this case, lead generation focused, new tech, right? New partnerships. So what is new and what can we do together for some mind sharing? A lot of these events, people think that, it's just to go and, meet, new clients, so on and so forth. But a lot of it, there's a lot of teaching and learning that goes on at a lot of these events and a lot of these conferences to where you can really get a idea in our space. What are people looking for? What issues are they having that a solution could actually help them with.
Yeah.
So I would say learning that. And then the last one would be obviously getting to talk to my current customers and clients or people that I know that are at these shows. Since COVID hit, quite honestly, you don't get a lot of FaceTime, and unless you make a special trip and then they're busy and they may be working only a couple days in office, that type of stuff, where these events and these shows really make some really good allotted time on both sides.
Yeah.
To get to talk, to get to see, to get to understand maybe some hurdles and challenges, and really just to show our customers, current customers, appreciation of their business.
Yeah.
Right. And so what about you, Brad? What are your
Well, I
thoughts?
mean, everything you just said. I mean, we're going to be, shoulder to shoulder, side by side at our booth, and visiting with people 100%. I'm gonna go a little bit less business in my top three.
Okay.
Number one, I'm really looking forward to warmer weather.
Right.
Like, really looking forward to it. It's nice up here, but I checked the weather for Vegas, and I think it's going to be in the 70s, high 70s. So I know that you're inside most of the time, but
Yeah.
is what it is. Vegas food, number two.
Vegas
What was
food.
that? What was that steak? Remember we were talking about before we headed out to our show, our last show in Vegas. There was a very particular steak we were talking about.
Yeah. Wagyu.
The
Kobe.
Wagyu. Yeah. And I'm not. I'm a ribs guy, but so maybe we'll get around to sampling that. So I'm gonna avoid, I mean, in the mornings I might hit up the Dunkin' Donut just because at 5 o'clock in the morning it's great to hit a Dunkin' Donut. But when we do lunch and dinner, we have to, and I think Christian's gonna be out there as well.
Yep.
So might have to take advantage of that.
Always good to get a Wagyu steak on somebody else's dime, right?
And then and the number three is getting back. When we went out there was the first time that I was actually out. And I mean, which is weird because I lived in California for a few years, which wasn't, too far away, but I just never been.
Yeah, you were like a kid in the candy store when we went.
I was, dude. So we walked Caesars.
Yeah, Caesars Palace.
So we walked Caesars. How many Rolex stores do you need in a 1,000-foot walk? Because I counted three.
As a watch guy, you can't ever have enough, but
I counted three.
Yeah, in Caesars,
which was pretty amazing. Which was it was pretty awesome. So yeah, I mean, like I said, my three are warm weather, Vegas food, and getting back to travel again. So I don't think that I'm gonna land on a 787-8 Dreamliner on my way out.
You probably get a puddle jumper for like 6 hours straight.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, that's awesome because I'm telling you, when your eyes, if you could think, when we walked into Caesars and you were like, okay, Vegas is busy. There's a lot of people. It's kind of smelly. Like, what's this whole oopla? But when you walked in, I looked at your face and you were like, whoa.
It was like a huge labyrinth.
It's like the mall of malls.
I forgot to take a video of the spiral escalators.
Yeah.
I wanted to show that to my kids. So I might have
We'll get it this time.
And ride the spiral escalator for.
Now you've seen the ritzy side, the Strip. We need to make time to go to Old Vegas, Fremont Street. Okay. And so me and you both kind of enjoy the people watching game of things. Yeah. And so anyways, we need to make time. It's a whole another layer to Vegas. It's like a good cake, right? You got a couple different layers.
It's like a good
and
cake.
So the Fremont Street's a whole nother layer. So anyways, I think that'll be kind of your next Vegas trip experience.
Experience, right? Gotcha.
Yeah, we're not neither one of us are big gamblers, so I think I've seen you gamble a little bit, but I think it.
Yeah, I'll sit at the blackjack table for a little bit, but I'm not. It's There's enough stuff in the world to get me stressed out.
Not losing the life savings on a black.
No, no, not at all. I just, I appreciate it for what it is. Or I'll go down to my buddy's poker game,
Yeah.
every few months down the street. But I mean, there's some rounders, some guys that they have a bankroll and that's what they do, and that's
Oh yeah.
I can't
No,
do it.
I'll sports bet every now and then, but obviously on, sure things like the Chiefs. But
Right.
besides that,
So I have two takeaways before we finish this episode. Number
sure.
one, for anybody listening, if you want to add a very effective onboarding process to your sales organization, make your prospects that you're going to bring in sell to a lawyer. I think that's number one.
Right.
Number two, I don't know how to say the word benevolent without thinking about it and focusing very hard.
Wouldn't have started. You'd have been, yeah, I would have said, sorry, Brad, you can't do this job.
I was like, wait, they started with word, and I went to say it in my head. I was just like, holy crap, I don't even know how to say that word in my head without thinking about it.
Could you imagine the
Oh my
variations
gosh.
that I've heard throughout the years? Because I use that same script for 10 years.
Benevolent.
The ones that were really good, they just asked me, excuse me, sir, what's that word? And then I would
Right.
tell them. The ones that would just make up stuff was amazing.
Ones that just make it up.
Or they say it
Benevolent.
real fast, like if you don't know the word, and they're like, but I don't. I'm
Benevolent.
like, what was that again? I couldn't understand. They're like, by okay.
Gotcha. Well, listen, everybody. I want to thank again Noble Biz for powering our podcast. Off-Scripted, B-Rad, the Gen Xer with Iron Mike McGuire. If you want to join us, if you want to be a guest on the podcast, please reach out to us. We'd be glad to have a conversation and schedule you as well. And if you're watching this, hopefully we'll see you guys out at LeadsCon as well.
Yeah,
Okay?
I'd love to hear more first-time stories from guests and first-time call center experiences. We're gonna start taking those experiences and those things and maybe reading them on the next podcast. So love for you to reach out to us at LinkedIn. Let us know how your first call center experience or maybe your current experience is. And until next time, we're off to Vegas.
If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.